It's been less than a week since we were all glued to our screens watching the Lionesses give their all during the World Cup final on Sunday. It was a tournament in which the women's team captured the hearts of the nation, inspired millions to follow in their footsteps. And I'm delighted to say that I'm joined now by one of the Lionesses who played in that final, England defender Jess Carter. Welcome to Sky News. Thanks for being with us.
Hey, no problem.
It's a week later, as we said. Have you come down yet? How are you feeling?
A little bit tired, still waiting for the jet lag to get over that, but obviously just still just having little flashbacks of amazing moments, really, and still quite on, for me, I'm still on cloud nine about it.
Yeah, and it was, you know, we all watched, we were sort of, the hopes of a nation were pinned on there. We've been here before with England, with the men's, where there is that disappointment at the end, and somehow it felt hopeful. It still felt like this is the beginning of something. Is that what it feels for you as a team?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, there's a lot of disappointment for all of us to be feeling right now, and I think everyone's just a little bit devastated to get so close and not be able to kind of clinch it at the end. But I think the overriding factor is just pride to have achieved something incredible, to have created history for the women's team and getting that close, I think is just something so special. And seeing all the support we've had back here and really feeling like we've inspired people is really important to us.
Yeah, and we were talking just before we went on air about the fact that I certainly have my one-year-old daughter glued to the screen. It's the first time she's ever watched football, and she was just absolutely, you know, eyes wide open. It was so exciting. Now, of course, the news of the day is, you'll have seen him, and you were in that stadium when it happened, this kiss from Luis Rubiales to Jenny Hermosa, the Spanish player. He has now said that he will not stand down, he wants to fight his corner. I mean, I don't know if you actually saw the moment it happened, you were probably caught up in your own feelings at that time, but when you saw the pictures afterwards of that kiss, what did it make you feel?
It's really sad, to be honest. Sad that such a special moment like that, like them winning the World Cup, has been, in my opinion, tarnished. For Hermosa herself, for Spain as a nation, have just achieved something incredible, and it's been ruined by that moment. I didn't see it live. It wasn't until I got back and saw the photos of it, and initially I was like, wait, this can't be real. This just something that's so unacceptable, and I'm not sure how he can say anything other than sincere apologies, really, about it. Because it's something that shouldn't ever happen in any line of work, especially on the world stage in front of all these people.
Yeah, I wonder, because there's also the reaction of Jenny Hermoso, because initially there was this sort of video released on social media where she said she didn't like it. And then when she was talking to the cameras, that narrative had sort of changed, and she was saying that it was a consensual moment of celebration. I wonder what you make of that. It feels like something happened there, and I wonder whether you have any sort of view on what might have happened there.
I just think she's in such a difficult position, you know. She's on absolute cloud nine, and she's got all these emotions going through her head that, I mean, I'm not in her head, so I don't know how she's feeling, but I can only imagine that it was a moment of kind of just what's happened, really, in that second, and she's got pure excitement and I guess a lot of adrenaline going, and it's probably a thing where she's looked back on as well, and at the aftermath of it is a bit like, what's happened here, really? And I think that she's been put in a almost impossible position there where, you know, it's Spain's president, and, you know, how do you kind of go against someone with such power, but at the same time to stand and back yourself and say that this isn't acceptable.
And let's drill into that. I wonder why you think it's unacceptable. What would you say to those who say, well, football's a physical game, people get excited, even in the men's game, you might see someone, you know, holding head to a head or whatever. It was just this moment of sort of madness, gender didn't come into it. Perhaps also the fact that, you know, in Spain, doing a kiss on the cheek is a form of salutation, all that sort of thing. Do you think any of that holds any weight?
No, not for me. I just think it's a categorical no. I think that's something that is extremely unacceptable, and I think regardless of gender, I think that's irrelevant. It's a fact of, you know, we all get excited, but I don't get excited, I think, to go and kiss someone because I'm excited or, you know, or happy about the scoreline. I understand emotions, but I feel like there's many ways to show your emotions, and for me, he's Spain's FIFA president, Spain's football president, and I think that he, regardless of his emotions, it's his job to keep his emotions under control the same way everybody else would have to.
Yeah. Do you think we would have seen that kind of thing happen in the men's game?
No, absolutely not. There's been a lot of success in the men's game for a lot of different teams, and I've still never seen anything like that happen. And it's obviously always the conversations of women's game versus men's game and things like that. But I think that the men's game, that would never, ever happen. So why has it happened in the women's game now?
That's an interesting point you raise. It's always questions of men's game versus the women's game. Are you bored of everyone comparing the women's game to the men's game?
Yeah, so bored, because it's two completely different games. You know, we're trying to create our own legacy. We're trying to improve women's football and the support around it, and we want to do that our own way. And I think that having the constant conversations about what happens in the men's game versus the women's game is getting boring, yeah.
I can't even remember where I read this, but there was something I read about the fact that we expect women to go on and play on a man-sized pitch with men's-sized goal, that kind of thing. And there was a question raised about, is it time that the women's game is almost remade with a pitch that's the right size? There are criticisms that the women's game can be slow. Well, perhaps that's because they're playing on a man-sized pitch. Is that something you've sort of thought about?
For me personally, it's never been something I've thought about it, because I always just get on a pitch and I go and play and have fun and get to do my passion. So it's not something I've really thought about, but I can understand why the questions are asked. And I think that scientists will probably give you better explanations and evidence than what I could. But, you know, I think that the women's game is just so different that it's a different type of game to the men's game. And we have different qualities to what they do, and we just want to make it our own.
Yeah, and actually one of those qualities that we saw really on the pitch in evidence during the World Cup was a sense of a team. You know, you all play for your different clubs, and yet you were on that pitch and you were a team. Someone went down, something happened, you were all gathering around. You really thought as one. We don't... Sorry to make this comparison with the men's game. We don't always see that with the England men's game, or we haven't typically, you know, way back. That is something incredible. How does that team spirit come about?
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak on behalf of how I feel at England, and we are definitely a together team. It's something that, you know, we've all got each other's backs for sure. And I think when you leave your club, it's only about England, and you don't even think or talk about club really. And we all want to achieve the same goal, and we know we need every single player in order to do that. So it's really important for us to all stick together.
Yeah. How important has Sabrina Wiegman been to all of that?
Oh, she's incredible. She's a top-tier manager, I'd say. As a person and as a manager, she's great. And keeping that team togetherness is something that she really prides herself on, and having a really open environment in order to be able to create that team togetherness is something that she's worked hard on as well. So we're very lucky to have her.
What did you make of Gianni Infantino, the FIFA president's comments last week, where he was saying that it was up to women to kick down the doors and to take what they wanted? And, of course, he caveats that always with the fact that he's got daughters. What do you make of it?
I think it's irrelevant that he's got daughters. I don't know why. I've heard this a couple of times now. I think it's absolutely irrelevant. But for me, it's just disappointing. Like, it's not about women coming to men to try and achieve something. That we're going to someone who we are hoping that's going to try and help support the women's game, improve it. We're not looking, whether it's male, whether it's female, we're expecting to get that same support. We're doing everything that we can on the pitch and off the pitch to try and push the game. And it's just frustrating for us that we feel there's other people with such power that aren't willing to do the same, but are willing to make comments like that, where we've got to push down doors or, you know, trying to encourage men. No, we're just trying to encourage people to see the bigger picture and try and help us improve the game.
Is there a problem that all of those people in those positions of power within football are men?
I think the main problem is, whether it's male or female, it's being so narrow-minded about things more so than the actual gender. I think that there are definitely some people in power who are male, who are willing to support and go the extra mile and to try and understand and learn a bit better. So there definitely are some people out there that do that. I just think that maybe that pool of people is very small. So we're hopeful that after conversations that we're continuing to have, that you know, people in power are willing to step up and try and help out a bit more.
And how did you feel when Mary Earps sort of won in that campaign to an extent and got a limited edition made of her kit, and Nike decided they were going to make that? How was that?
I was so happy when I saw it. You know, for me, I'm really proud of Mary for doing that, because it's so easy to be silenced in things. And, you know, for other people, it might just be, oh, well, it's just a goalkeeper jersey. You know, it's not the most favourable position out of all the positions, but she's really stood by something she's so passionate about. For me, she's inspiring so many other people to stand up for what they also believe in. And I think that, you know, knowing how hard she's worked to get to where she is, and for the fact that her family couldn't wear her jersey because Nike didn't want to create one, or how singled out she might have felt, or all the little girls that want to be Mary Earps, they couldn't for that moment because they couldn't have a jersey. So, yeah, no, I'm really happy for her, and, you know, for other goalkeepers out there that just to get a little bit more recognition. I think it just goes to show that when you stand by what you believe in, you know, you can get positive outcomes.
I'm being told I've got to wrap, but I just want one word from you on the team. You're off the pitch now, you've finished with the World Cup. Are you still very much in touch?
Yeah, definitely stayed in touch with a few, but I think everyone's just trying to have a reset before we, you know, it's a very quick turnaround. So, yeah, I'm still in touch with some of them, yeah.
Yeah, lots more to do.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's been an absolute joy to speak to you. Thank you so much for coming in. Such a pleasure to have you here in the studio. Jess Carter, thank you.
Thank you very much.